What happens when you mix bodybuilders, ancient myths, and Italian filmmaking on a shoestring budget? You get Peplum, the gloriously over-the-top sword and sandal epics that conquered screens worldwide before fading into obscurity. Today, we unearth 15 legendary muscle man adventures available in public domain prints. Forgotten treasures waiting to be rediscovered by modern eyes. Hercules, 1958. American bodybuilder Steve Reeves steps into the sandals of mythology's greatest hero, transforming overnight from Mr. Universe to international film star. Director Pietro Francischini crafted this colorful adventure on a modest budget, never suspecting it would spawn hundreds of imitators and create an entire genre. The film's tremendous success in America shocked industry experts, proving audiences craved mythological spectacle. Reeves performs his own stunts throughout, including the famous sequence where Hercules pulls down massive temple pillars. His physique became the gold standard for all Peplum heroes to follow. The production faced numerous challenges, including costumes that repeatedly tore when Reeves flexed his muscles. Cinematographer Mario Bava, who would later direct several Peplum films himself, developed innovative lighting techniques to emphasize the star's impressive musculature. "I never intended to become an actor," Reeves later confessed. "I just wanted to travel to Europe." Little did he know this Italian adventure would define his career. The film's public domain status has unfortunately led to many low-quality prints circulating, with washed-out colors that don't do justice to the original's vibrant Mediterranean palette. Despite technical shortcomings in available versions, Hercules remains the quintessential starting point for any Peplum exploration. Goliath the Barbarians, 1959. Here's a curious fact. This film was originally titled Goliath Against the Giants in Italy, but featured neither Goliath nor giants. American distributors, capitalizing on audience confusion, renamed various characters across multiple films to boost ticket sales. Steve Reeves returns, technically playing a character named Emiliano, rebranded as Goliath for American audiences, seeking more Hercules-style adventures. Set during the Lombardian invasion of Italy in 568 AD, this film ventures beyond typical mythological territory into quasi-historical drama. Director Carlo Campogalliani stages ambitious battle sequences with hundreds of extras, creating a sense of scale rarely seen in Peplum films. The infamous village massacre sequence proved so realistic that several extras suffered minor injuries during filming. The film's standout moment arrives when Reeves dons a distinctive horned helmet to disguise himself as the Avenger, creating an almost superhero-like dual identity. This marketing-friendly image became iconic on posters worldwide. Cello Alonso's captivating dance sequence caused controversy, with several countries demanding cuts before approval. The public domain print suffers from poor audio synchronization, but the visual grandeur still impresses despite these technical limitations. Hercules against the Moonmen, 1964. Just when you thought Peplum couldn't get stranger, along comes a film blending Greek mythology with alien invaders. Sergio Chiani plays Hercules battling extraterrestrial villains who arrive from the moon in crystalline spaceships. Director Giacomo Gentilomo crafted this bizarre hybrid during the genre's declining years, when producers desperately sought fresh angles to attract dwindling audiences. The film's notorious sandstorm sequence stretches an excruciating 7 minutes, leading Mystery Science Theater 3000 to immortalize it with their cry of "deep hurting." The Moonmen themselves, with their distinctive rock-like masks, reportedly terrified children on set. The costumes, designed by Giulio Coltellacci, utilized innovative materials, including molded plastic and early synthetic fabrics, to achieve their otherworldly appearance. What fascinates most is how the film anticipates later science fiction tropes, including ancient astronaut theories that would gain popularity years later. "We were making it up as we went along," assistant director Franco Serino later admitted. "Nobody questioned why aliens would want Hercules as an enemy." The available public domain print features a laughably poor English dub that unintentionally enhances the entertainment value, making this a perfect entry point for viewers who appreciate cinematic oddities. Colossus of Roads, 1961. Before revolutionizing Westerns with A Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone directed this ambitious peplum, starring American actor Rory Calhoun. The film's centerpiece, the 100-foot bronze statue straddling Rhodes Harbor, becomes not just a wonder of the ancient world, but a functioning death trap, complete with hidden rooms and deadly mechanisms. Leone's directorial trademarks already appear: extreme close-ups, tension-building musical cues, and meticulously choreographed action sequences. The spectacular earthquake finale, destroying the massive statue, pushed 1961's special effects capabilities to their limits. The production utilized miniatures, practical effects, and innovative camera techniques to create the illusion of the colossal structure. Leone drove us mercilessly, recalled cinematographer Antonio Ballesteros. He already had this vision of cinema as operatic spectacle. Behind the scenes, tensions flared between Leone and producers over budget constraints, foreshadowing his later Hollywood battles. The film's relatively complex political intrigue storyline distinguishes it from simpler peplum narratives, revealing Leone's ambitions beyond the genre's limitations. The available public domain print unfortunately crops the original widescreen composition, but Leone's visual ingenuity remains evident despite this compromise. Giants of Rome, 1964. Director Antonio Margheriti blends peplum conventions with war movie tropes in this tale of 4 Roman soldiers on a suicide mission behind enemy lines. Richard Harrison leads the specialized commando team, tasked with destroying a secret Gallic weapon. The film eschews mythological elements entirely, focusing instead on military strategy and camaraderie among soldiers. Essentially, the Dirty Dozen in togas. Margheriti, known for his technical prowess, crafts impressive siege weapon sequences using practical effects and miniatures. The catapult attacks and firebomb assaults create genuine spectacle despite budget limitations. Behind the scenes, unexpected torrential rains plagued the production, turning the outdoor sets into muddy quagmires that had to be continuously rebuilt. The film features unusually realistic combat choreography for the genre, with military advisor Captain Giovanni Braccio bringing authentic Roman battle tactics to the screen. "We studied ancient military texts," Harrison later explained. "These weren't just muscle men swinging swords randomly." The film's distinctly gritty tone represents peplum's evolution toward greater realism as the genre matured. The public domain print suffers from contrast issues in night scenes, but daytime sequences preserve the impressive production values that distinguish this ambitious production. Goliath and the Sins of Babylon, 1963. Mark Forrest flexes his impressive physique as Goliath in this lavish adventure featuring chariot races, gladiatorial combat, and an Olympic-style athletic competition. Director Michel Lupo prioritizes spectacular set pieces over narrative coherence, creating a theme park ride of peplum attractions that barely connect to form a cohesive story. The film's highlight remains its elaborate water battle sequence, where athletes compete atop floating platforms while attempting to knock opponents into the water. This sequence required constructing a massive water tank, specifically for the production, with multiple cameras capturing the action from above and below the water's surface. Several cast members suffered injuries during these demanding aquatic stunts. Behind the camera, tensions mounted between American Star Forest and Italian producers over working conditions. "They expected us to perform dangerous stunts without proper safety measures," Forrest later revealed. "I refused several times, causing production delays." Despite these challenges, the film delivers unparalleled visual spectacle for its modest budget. The public domain print's faded colors cannot diminish the impressive scale of the production design, which utilized every corner of Cinecittà Studios' famous backlot. War of the Trojans, 1962. Steve Reeves returns as Aeneas in this sequel to The Trojan Horse, chronicling the survivor's journey after Troy's destruction. Director Giorgio Ferroni adapts portions of Virgil's Aeneid with surprising fidelity to the source material, elevating this entry above typical genre fare. The film's ambitious scope follows Aeneas through multiple adventures before founding what would become Rome. Impressive naval battle sequences feature full-sized ship replicas constructed specifically for the production, with hundreds of extras engaged in maritime combat. The legendary sequence where Queen Dido builds her funeral pyre required extensive safety preparations, with firefighters standing by as actress Gianna Maria Canale performed dangerously close to controlled flames. Production designer Franco Lawley created distinctive visual identities for each civilization Aeneas encounters, researching ancient cultures to inform the film's varied costumes and architecture. "We wanted each kingdom to feel like a different world," Lawley explained in a rare interview. Composer Carlo Rusticelli's haunting score draws on ancient musical modes, creating a soundscape that enhances the film's mythic qualities. While the public domain print suffers from inconsistent audio levels, the visual grandeur of this ambitious production remains apparent despite technical limitations. Maciste, in King Solomon's Mines, 1964. Maciste, a uniquely Italian hero with no mythological equivalent, ventures to Africa in this bizarre genre hybrid. Bodybuilder Reg Park portrays the wandering strongman who discovers a lost civilization and battles tyrannical Queen Karima. Director Piero Regnoli freely borrows from H. Rider Haggard's famous novel while injecting distinctive Peplum elements. The production filmed partially on location in Egypt, with second-unit footage of authentic African landscapes enhancing the exotic atmosphere. Park performed remarkably dangerous stunts, including wrestling a sedated but still unpredictable lion. "They simply told me the animal was mostly trained," Park recalled with amusement. "I didn't discover until later that it had injured 3 trainers previously." The film's problematic portrayal of African cultures reflects the era's limited cultural awareness, though it attempts greater authenticity than many contemporaries. Elaborate cave sets constructed at Cinecittà Studios featured actual gold dust mixed into paint to create convincingly glittering treasure chambers. The public domain print's poor contrast obscures many dark cave sequences, but daytime scenes preserve the film's colorful pageantry and impressive location photography that distinguished it from studio-bound competitors. Samson and the 7 Miracles of the World, 1961. In perhaps the genre's most ambitious geographical leap, director Ricardo Freda sends his muscle-bound hero to ancient China. Gordon Scott plays Maciste, renamed Samson for American audiences, who aids Chinese rebels against Mongol invaders. This East-meets-West curiosity represents Peplum's desperate search for fresh settings during the genre's commercial decline. The production transforms Cinecittà backlots into convincing Chinese settings through elaborate set decoration and carefully chosen camera angles. Martial arts sequences integrate Eastern fighting styles with Western strongman conventions, creating unique hybrid action scenes years before the kung fu craze. Lead actress Yoko Tani provided cultural consultations to improve authenticity in costumes and set decoration. Behind the scenes, language barriers created constant challenges, with 5 different languages spoken among cast and crew. "We communicated mostly through gestures," Scott later explained. "It created this strange energy that actually works in the film." The famous sequence where Samson holds apart 2 closing walls was achieved through practical effects that malfunctioned repeatedly, nearly injuring Scott during filming. The public domain print suffers from poor color timing, but the production's inventive visual elements still impress despite technical limitations. Hercules and the Captive Women, 1961. Reg Park makes his debut as Hercules, journeying to the lost civilization of Atlantis in this visually ambitious adventure. Director Vittorio Cotafavi brings unusual artistic sensibilities to the genre, employing stylized color schemes and expressionistic lighting to create a dreamlike atmosphere unlike typical Peplum productions. The film's Atlantean sequences feature striking modernist set designs that deliberately contrast with traditional ancient world settings. Costume designer Maurizio Chiari created memorable transparent masks for Atlantean soldiers, which proved so difficult to breathe through that numerous extras fainted during filming. The sequence where Hercules battles a mechanical bull required Park to fight against an early hydraulic creation that frequently malfunctioned, leading to genuine moments of unpredictability captured on film. Cotafavi approached this as art, not just entertainment, noted assistant director Franco Cirino. He referenced classical paintings for every composition. The film's subtext about racial purification and eugenics adds unexpected depth, though these elements were often cut from international versions. The The public domain print suffers from numerous splices and missing footage, but enough remains to appreciate Kotafavi's distinctive visual approach that elevated this production above formulaic genre entries. Ursus in the Valley of the Lions, 1961. Ed Fury stars as Ursus, another mythological strongman created specifically for Italian cinema. Director Carlo Ludovico Bragaglia crafts a revenge narrative as Ursus searches for his kidnapped bride while battling lions, warriors, and corrupt rulers. The film showcases impressive animal sequences that push the boundaries of safety standards in 1960s Italian cinema. The production's most remarkable achievement involves Fury's interactions with actual lions, filmed using innovative split-screen techniques and carefully positioned barriers invisible to cameras. Despite these precautions, filming halted for 3 days after a lion unexpectedly broke through safety measures, causing no injuries but destroying expensive camera equipment. Fury performed his own stunts throughout, including the harrowing sequence where he's suspended over a pit of hungry lions. Working with animals was terrifying but exhilarating, Fury later recalled. The Italian crew had a much more relaxed attitude towards safety than American productions. Behind the scenes, the film's original script underwent significant rewrites after censors objected to several violent sequences, including a gladiatorial combat scene considered too graphic for general audiences. The available public domain print suffers from inconsistent audio levels, but the impressive lion sequences remain powerful despite technical limitations in this overlooked Peplum adventure. Triumph of the Son of Hercules, 1961. Known in Italy as Triumph of Mazziste, this film features bodybuilder Kirk Morris as yet another muscle man navigating ancient world intrigue. American distributors, continuing their practice of renaming characters to capitalize on Hercules' popularity, transformed Mazziste into Hercules' offspring for English-speaking audiences. Director Mario Costa delivers a visually distinctive entry with unusually elaborate underwater sequences. The film's standout achievement involves extensive underwater photography, with Morris performing demanding aquatic stunts while battling opponents beneath the surface. These sequences required constructing a specialized water tank with transparent viewing panels for cameras. Morris, who lacked professional diving experience, underwent intensive training before filming. "I nearly drowned twice during production," he later admitted. "The weight of my costume made swimming nearly impossible." Production designer Mario Giorgi created elaborate subterranean sets featuring artificial stalactites and water features that required continuous maintenance between takes. The memorable sequence where the hero battles water creatures utilized innovative latex prosthetics that deteriorated rapidly in water, necessitating multiple replacements during filming. The public domain print's murky contrast particularly affects underwater scenes, but enough visual information remains to appreciate this aquatic adventure that pushed Peplum into new environments rarely seen in the genre. Vulcan, Son of Jupiter, 1962. Rod Flash portrays Vulcan, the god of fire and forge, in this unusual entry focusing on a rarely featured mythological figure. Director Mimmo Salvi crafts a narrative centered around Vulcan's legendary craftsmanship, rather than merely showcasing physical strength, distinguishing this film from typical strongman fare. The volcanic forge sequences feature impressive practical effects, creating genuinely hazardous filming conditions. The production constructed a functioning forge on set, with real molten metal used in carefully controlled sequences supervised by metallurgical experts. This commitment to authenticity created unprecedented challenges, including studio temperatures exceeding 100 degrees during forge scenes. The elaborate golden armor created for the film's climax involved genuine gold leaf application techniques, resulting in a costume so valuable it remained under armed guard when not being filmed. "We wanted to show Vulcan as more than muscles. He's the divine craftsman," explained scriptwriter Gianfranco Parolini. "His strength comes from skill, not just physical power." This more cerebral approach to the Peplum hero represents an interesting evolution for the genre. The remarkable sequence where Vulcan creates magical weapons features time-lapse photography of actual metalworking processes, blended seamlessly with mythological elements. The public domain print suffers from color fading that diminishes the fiery visuals, but the film's unique approach to Peplum conventions remains evident despite these technical limitations. A Moleman against the Son of Hercules, 1961. Mark Forrest returns to Peplum in this bizarre adventure, originally titled Makiste, the Strongest Man in the World, before American distributors rebranded it. Director Antonio Leon Viola takes the genre underground as our hero discovers a subterranean civilization of pale, blind humanoids who capture surface dwellers as slaves. This curious production blends Peplum conventions with science fiction elements, creating a hybrid that stretches the genre's flexible boundaries even further. The film's underground kingdom required constructing massive cavern sets that occupied 3 separate sound stages at Cinecittà Studios. The production design team developed a unique phosphorescent paint formula for the cavern walls that created an eerie glow under specialized lighting conditions. The Molemen themselves, with their distinctive pale makeup and milky contact lenses, required 4 hours of daily preparation for each extra. Several performers suffered temporary vision problems from the primitive contact lenses. The makeup was torture, revealed supporting actor Paul Winter. Many extras quit after 1 day of filming. The film's most spectacular sequence involves a cave collapse achieved through controlled demolition of actual set pieces rather than miniatures, creating genuine danger for performers. Forrest performed his own stunts throughout, including a precarious scene traversing a narrow underground bridge suspended over actual flames. The public domain print suffers from numerous splices and missing footage, but enough remains to appreciate this uniquely atmospheric entry that pushed the genre into unexpected territory. Perseus the Invincible, 1963. Richard Harrison portrays the legendary Perseus, famous for slaying the Gorgon Medusa, in this mythology-heavy peplum that surprisingly attempts to follow actual Greek myths more closely than most entries in the genre. Director Alberto De Martino brings visual flair to familiar stories, with impressive creature effects creating memorable, monstrous opponents for our hero. The film's Medusa sequence in particular represents a high point for practical effects in Italian cinema of this era. The production team spent nearly a third of the film's budget on creature effects, including a mechanical Medusa with separately articulated snakes operated by off-camera puppeteers. The monster sequences required innovative techniques to create the illusion of petrifaction when victims gazed upon Medusa. We developed a special makeup that could be applied and set within seconds between camera cuts, explained effects supervisor Carlo Rambaldi, who would later win Oscars for his work on major Hollywood productions. Harrison prepared extensively for the physically demanding role, training with the Italian Olympic fencing team to make the elaborate sword-fighting sequences more convincing. "We choreographed each battle like a dance," Harrison noted. "It was exhausting, but created more authentic combat than most Peplum films." The sequence where Perseus navigates the underground labyrinth was filmed in actual ancient Roman cisterns beneath Cinecittà Studios, adding authentic ancient atmosphere to these scenes. The public domain print suffers from poor audio synchronization, but the impressive visual effects and ambitious mythological storytelling elevate this entry above more formulaic genre offerings. From mythological monsters to Moonmen, Italian Peplum films created a universe where muscles conquered all obstacles. No matter how improbable, these public domain treasures, despite their technical flaws, capture a uniquely inventive era of filmmaking that influenced everything from superhero movies to fantasy epics. If you've enjoyed this muscular journey through cinema history, flex that subscription button and share this video with fellow film adventurers. Until next time, remember, in Peplum, the solution to any problem is simply more muscles.